Guys, welcome to another episode of Into the West, a special Boom segment for the entire month of February, and now I think we're going to be extending into March.
Absolutely.
We'll be doing a little bit of a feature every week with regards to Boom Studios and the different properties that they have. And this week we want to talk about a sci-fi adventure in space that has to do with space deities, Sonny. We're talking about we only find them when they're dead.
Absolutely. I'm super stoked for this. By the way, welcome back, guys.
Yes, sir. I'm happy to be here as always.
Oh yeah. I don't know if you guys in the YouTubes noticed these gentlemen's T-shirts. These are awesome. I also wanted to give a shout out. We got 100 subscribers on
We hit
YouTube.
the
Thank
100
you so
subscribers.
much for that. That's
Absolutely.
incredible.
We love you
Super
guys.
incredible.
We really appreciate that, guys.
Very cool. We're excited where we're headed. 100 subscribers is a big thing for us. I mean, we didn't know we're going to get like 5 subscribers,
No.
much less 100. So
It's incredible.
that's really cool, and we do appreciate the support.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Guys, when it comes to a sci-fi series in particular, what draws you in, and what is it about this series, Paul, that got your attention, that interests you?
I think a lot of times with science fiction stuff, it comes down to like a MacGuffin. Every science fiction story, every great science fiction story has a great MacGuffin. That one thing that isn't entirely explained, it may not ever be, but it's what gets you in, like the Tesseract
Yeah.
in the first Avengers
Mhm.
movie and things like that. And in this, we only find them when they're dead. What is it that they only find when they're dead? It's giant space gods that they harvest for their body parts and all of that for
Mhm.
money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what draws you in. Oh, they're looking for giant space gods. And then the writing of Al Ewing and the art from Simone de Mio, yeah, I got that right,
Nice.
is incredible. And it keeps you there. You come for the giant space gods, and you stay for the writing and the art.
Perfectly explained. I couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, so I think that the storytelling is really cool. They did the first 5 issues come out. Now they're taking a little bit of a break. It comes back again in May, and they're going to advance the timeline a little bit. We might have some callbacks to whatever happens at the end of this first arc, but Al Ewing in particular, I mean, I've told you, I've gone back and forth with him. This past summer, he was involved in a big like Marvel crossover project called Empire
Sick.
that I really wasn't super hyped about. It was I like the tie-ins a lot more than the main story.
Mhm.
There's something about his storytelling though that he's really good,
Super good.
and
We're
I mean,
standing in a parking lot.
we've seen it with Immortal Hulk in particular,
Just
that
read
he
the first
writes
volume.
monsters really well.
Yeah.
And he writes Hulk as a monster.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool aspect to it. But I think just sci-fi in particular, it's like we're always kind of looking for that next thing
Mm-hmm.
with relationship to science fiction, and his writing is ridiculous. The storytelling is really cool. The crew is kind of neat.
I like the crew a lot.
It's a cool story, and I mean it's another one of these Boom properties that
Is
I
killer.
mean-
And one thing I wanted to touch on was a lot of stories either stay away from this or don't do it well. There is a homosexual relationship in this story, and a lot of times that feels like it's in your face or forced. And no, Al Ewing writes it in a way that it just feels like it's part of the story.
A good
It's-
character development.
It's great, and you
Yeah.
never go, well, this seems like you just did it for like what is it called?
It's
Inclusivity.
Yeah,
But no,
when it's not a force,
it's a
it
living,
works.
breathing part of the story
Yeah.
that is necessary for it, and it's great.
I agree.
And I absolutely love that kind of representation is being done well, and it doesn't surprise me that Al Ewing did that.
I agree, man. Even the artwork, you get so drawn into these celestial figures when you see them floating around in space. The ships look awesome. The color is awesome. Boom Studios just hitting it out the park, always.
Every
Yeah.
time.
they did something with the artwork you mentioned. It's ridiculous. The I don't know how they do like the color splashes or something. You're thinking space. You're thinking like a lot of unused negative space with
Right.
a lot of darker tones.
Mm-hmm.
But they pop a lot of color onto this. I don't know what they do with like the quality of the paper or something they print it on.
It's
like,
really
It's
cool,
ridiculous.
Because when you see like the characters talking to each other inside of the spaceship in the deck, it'll have like a bright yellow in the
Mhm.
back, or like a bright orange or green, and it really just shows the differentiating characters. It's really cool.
And now that you bring it up, when you think about it, each character kind of has a color for them
Yes.
that reflects their mood or what's going
Mhm.
on in their head. Like Pritchard, I can never remember. Paula Pritchard, the
Yep.
kind of space cop who's after them.
I think it's Paul.
She's always
Just got-
like covered in red, and that's where her mindset is in at the whole entire time,
Julia?
pretty much. Because it's Paula,
Paula?
like Pratchard. Or
Okay.
something. And she's always very angry and out for revenge, and her color palette reflects that. And other characters who move and change with feelings, the color palette reflects that as well.
I like that a lot.
Well, the callbacks too to like there's the different ships and stuff that like they feel sort of like it's a pirate type of thing,
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah,
but they're
100%.
that they're in space
For sure.
and that's kind of neat with Captain Malik.
Malik.
Yeah.
Malik.
I really enjoy the story overall. I mean, and like we've heard that it's taking a break because Al Ewing right now is in the process of kind of scripting out the last few issues of Immortal Hulk.
Yeah.
He's been going back and forth between these two series. We know that we're going to get a new arc beginning in May. So if you have, you've got time now. There's no excuse really
Absolutely
to catch up with. Paul read like a couple of issues yesterday,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
read 4 of the 5 yesterday.
and we've got like all 5 of them for Donovan to read tonight. So
Yep.
Which
So
one?
excited.
Which did you catch up on 1 and 2, or just 1?
Of you only find them when they're
Yeah.
dead. I'm still catching up on volume 1 of
once a few.
Once
yeah,
a
Once in
Future.
Oh,
Future.
okay. Yeah, you're in for a treat. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
I think by the 3rd, you kind of see more character development, and then
I'm here for it,
it's
man.
really good.
I love it.
Yeah.
One of the things that you had asked the question, like what draws us into sci-fi, and for me, these stories, especially the one that I'm reading now, it's like I love when the writer is trying to tell us something. They're trying to tell us something, and they're using obviously really creative ways. That's really any medium that we have. I mean, you look at Stan Lee's X-Men. Like the reason why he wrote X-Men, it was his take on the civil rights
Right.
Yeah.
that were happening in the
Mhm.
60s.
Mm-hmm.
With the black community and how they were treated differently because they, were different.
Mm-hmm.
When what the story that I'm reading now, I'm thinking like, what happens when you hold on to the past too much?
Mm-hmm.
Does the past come back to take what was theirs?
Mm-hmm.
Or, why do we hold on to the things that we think hold so much power? Like, why don't we learn to let them go and let them be buried where they're supposed to be buried? Like, why are we always going after the things that were before? Why aren't we looking ahead? So these are the
Yeah,
things that
it's-
I'm thinking of when I'm reading these stories, and we're like, what is the writer trying to tell us? in all
For
of
someone
this?
who hasn't read any of We Only Find Them When They're Dead, you just kind of explained a very integral
Super
part
spot
of the
on.
plot. So
You guys pretty good
think you're gonna
insight to
love
it
it.
without even reading it.
Hey,
I think you're gonna
but
love it.
isn't that good? That's the stuff that you
Yeah.
got. Like
Yeah.
you don't know that you're feeling some way about it. You're like, oh my gosh, like what have I held on to that
yeah,
needs to be let go? That's holding me back from
Mhm.
looking to the future, looking to the things that I need to look towards. Like,
Mhm.
why?
It's real.
And am I going along with the crowd? Like everyone says, like, hey, you need to stand up for this because everyone else is doing it. It was like, okay, well, yeah, I understand why, but like, why are we doing this?
Right.
Why are we going after this? Couldn't we do something better? Like, so stories, especially, I love.
He's
the
really
way,
gonna like this.
Yeah, you're gonna love
You're
this.
really gonna like
Yeah.
and
this.
the way I like sci-fi. Like one of my favorite shows of all time is Star Trek: Next Generation. Like
Mm,
that to me was like awesome.
this
like,
is very Star Trekky, I think.
for sure.
yeah,
Real Star Trek.
and I loved that, and I loved the things that we're saying, and so for me, sci-fi is about what is the writer trying to tell us in a super creative way, and sometimes it takes some time to tell us. I mean, we obviously we had a whole Star Wars. My first episode on the show was all about Star Wars. Like Star Wars, there's so many different routes that you can go
For
with
sure.
that as far as,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the overall thing was like.
They're exploring a lot of that now.
Yeah, so there's just so many great things about it, and that's what I really love about Boom Studios. Is like they're
They're so
bringing
good.
us back to why we really love comic books.
Yeah.
Mm,
And it's
exactly,
not
yeah.
about the capes.
No,
You know
it's
what I
not
mean?
about
Nope.
capes. It's not about the pinnacle stories that we're all used to
No,
that are being
man.
regurgitated. Let's
Yeah.
have a multiverse. Let's have a crisis on this earth. Let's
Right.
do this. Hey, we gotta revamp the timeline.
For sure.
Buyers aren't buying our comics anymore. They're like, no, screw that. Like, we're gonna give you original stories.
Absolutely. Every
Yes.
single one.
They've paved the way for us, but this is the way. This is the way. But this is the way we're going now. Like,
Mhm.
dude, I'm reading, Once in Future, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Like
It's so cool,
the
man.
grandmother in there, I was like, I'm blown away by her character.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
her character is so good, and I could see more and more stories with her. Even like a prequel of how she.
Oh yeah.
Like-
Easy.
That would be
Oh,
cool.
Like, 100%.
Easy.
Do you know what I mean? Like
That's clearly
there's
what's
so many
next.
different
Yeah, has to
routes to go in that sort of genre and that sort of area. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that could be incredible. So
Well, they're able to expand on their own intellectual properties,
create
creative
their own
properties,
universe.
and create their own universes
For sure.
because they don't have to rely or worry about all the connectivity.
Yeah.
when it comes to a publisher. You don't have to have, like you mentioned, the capes. We don't have to connect all
No.
these dots.
Superman
When
didn't
it-
have to be here first for this to happen.
We don't
and
have to
this,
have
no,
that.
No.
Oh,
That-
and that's what I was gonna say. One of my favorite things about reading through these, like a lot of times when I'm reading a Batman comic or a Superman comic, and something gets super out of hand, I'm like, why isn't everybody helping with this?
Right.
When I'm reading these comics, and I'm like, oh, this is what's happening. There's no one come save the day but them.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
no one who's gonna do this but
Right,
them.
right.
Whereas I'm reading Marvel or DC, doesn't mean the story's not good, but a lot of times, like someone's not there, and I'm like, if this guy was there,
It could just end
it
right
would
now.
End right now.
Right.
Yeah, but they're not for whatever reason. And
And credit to Endgame, the movie Endgame, when they were like, "Where were you when all this happened, Carol Danvers?" She's like, "You weren't the only Earth that was the
Mhm.
only world that
They
was
do a
going
good
through."
Yeah,
job
it."
and they didn't
explaining
have
that.
And I
any
was
of
like,
you guys.
"Oh, thank God, someone cleared that up because
Yep.
she
For
definitely could have." But sorry to
No,
jump
but
you there. But
That's
you
true.
you
That's true.
just reinforced my point. But it's so
Nice
much fun to read
verbiage.
these. Thank you. These stories, and they're so good. And I'm super excited about what we're going to talk about next week. Seven Secrets,
Mhm,
and
I
Tom
know you're
Taylor's
stoked
my
for that one.
favorite writer right now, and he's so good. He avoids doing what a lot of writers do. Pontificating is a little bit of a strong word. Like I don't think anyone's like super annoying with the way they explain things, but Tom Taylor is straight to the point, gets his dialogue out there, and you're in it just as much as you are with anything else. And I'm super excited about that. But Al Ewing is a beast as well, and this was incredible.
Well, we're putting. I mean, these are books that we are suggesting to people to read because they're not only books that we are all reading,
For sure.
but they're books that we think that you would enjoy
Yeah.
as a reader.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's why we suggest Something Is Killing the Children. It's why we've suggested We Only Find Them
Different
When They're
stuff.
Dead,
You know.
Once in Future, and then Seven Secrets. And coming in March, I think the first or second week in March, we'll probably be talking about one of the biggest intellectual properties to being collaborated with Boom Studios. That's of course Magic the Gathering.
Mhm.
They're going to be doing a new ongoing series,
That's gonna be
and
crazy.
I'm really excited for that. But there's so many different series that they've got. I mean, crime dramas, fantasy stories,
Mysteries.
and they really don't rely on the superhero
no, not at all.
aspect.
Not at all. And that's the coolest part.
And
for
that's a
me.
really cool part of it.
And you're so right about the genres because We Only Find Them When They're Dead, sci-fi. Seven Secrets is an action adventure kind of spy
Mhm.
thing, and then you have Once in Future, which is a fantasy story,
Yeah,
and you
fantasy,
have
American
Something's Killing the Children, which is a straight up horror
like
story.
horror.
And they're all way different, but they're all equally as good as each other. And there's something for everybody with Boom. And about the Magic the Gathering thing, I don't care about Magic the Gathering. I've
Neither
never
do
heard
I.
anything about it. I know it's a big property, but it's not my thing.
I know it's gonna be good.
But I know that Boom Studios has it, so I know that I'm gonna read it.
I know it's gonna be good.
And they'll probably lay out. I'm sure they will lay out like this is what Magic the Gathering
for
is,
sure,
the
for sure,
first
for
volume,
sure,
whatever.
for sure.
My question for you guys is: out of the Boom properties that we have read and partaked in, which one seems the most viable to have a film first? To have a feature film.
Film or
Adaptation.
series.
I was gonna say film or series because
I'm
I
gonna
feel
go
like there's a
different.
couple. There's a
I'm gonna
couple
go-
differences.
I'm gonna go
here.
film first
Okay, I
because
think
to me, We Only Find Them When They're Dead seems like a series.
definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
But
Same thing with Something's Killing the Children.
but once in
Yeah.
future, I feel like I'm watching a movie.
I could see that being a national treasure type of movie. You know what I mean? You could probably get that story done, at least the first part of the story, in a 2.5 hour film.
And I would watch it in the theater, or I'd
Absolutely.
be watching on HBO Max,
I was gonna
depending on
say.
what's going to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
of what I've read of Seven Secrets so far, I think that could be a great movie, like National Treasures type
Yeah.
movie or Da Vinci Code type thing. And I think that could very well be a movie.
I think so too.
And
So-
I think all this stuff will get picked up at some point.
Well, I think so too.
Well, it got optioned. Something Killing Children got optioned. I mean, there's so many different of these series that have been optioned, but we don't know as far as they need more content
For sure.
to put this stuff together. We
Yeah.
know that we mentioned We Only Find Them When They're Dead is taking a break. Something Is Killing the Children is taking a break.
Yep.
They're going to come back in May.
Come
And
back
when
strong.
they come back,
Yep.
they're going to have another story arc. They're calling it like a second book within the series where they're going to be telling you the origin of Erica Slaughter.
I'm down for that.
Excited
And
about
it's
that.
going to
Very
be
cool.
her becoming, a member of the House of Slaughter.
So sick.
And that leads me to believe they're going to do the same thing with Gran in Once in Future.
I think so too. And Karen
Give,
Gillan,
give me the backstory.
Karen Gillan kills it with Once in Future.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Dude,
Um,
it's so good.
after last week, I went back and read the first 2 issues of Eternals that he's writing. It's good.
I've read the
man.
first two too. They're good.
He's really good.
Yep.
These are books that we think that you guys should be adding to your pull box at your local LCS, and we hope that you're adding us to your pull box when it comes to YouTube. Make sure you slap that subscribe, that you're commenting, liking, letting us know, or you can dislike. You can let us know if we're not doing a great job, but let us know how we're doing.
Don't do that.
And make sure that you're sharing. We appreciate it so much, you guys taking the time to check us out. Next week, the Boom segment is going to be all about the world of spies and adventure.
Super stoked.
7 Secrets, baby. Tom Taylor.
So stoked.
Looking
Go
forward
check
to
it
it.
out.
Thanks, guys. Much love. Boom.